welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive right into one of the most terrifying hypothetical disasters imaginable by asking a simple yet absolutely catastrophic question. Today, we're going to look at what would actually happen if the very ground beneath our feet decided to wage a full-on war against the surface. I mean, just picture this for a second. You wake up one morning and every single volcano on Earth wakes up right along with you. We're talking the heavy hitters here: Mount Vesuvius, Mount Fuji, the massive supervolcano at Yellowstone, and hundreds of others scattered around the globe, all roaring to life in perfect, terrifying synchronization. Now, in the movies, this is usually where we see entire cities instantly vanishing beneath glowing rivers of molten rock. But when you actually look at the data, the reality of this event is way more complex. But here's where we have to flip our expectations completely upside down. You see, the fiery destruction and the dramatic rivers of molten rock that make for a great Hollywood blockbuster, they're actually just a distraction from the true existential threat. The lava is surprisingly local. The real danger, the one that threatens everyone, is what happens next. Which brings us to part one, the first horrifying hour. Right off the bat, we're looking at 1,500. That is the number of active volcanoes currently sitting on our planet. Imagine every single one of them popping off simultaneously. We aren't just talking about a little smoke on the horizon. The sheer, unfathomable seismic force of over 1,000 simultaneous eruptions would literally shake entire continents. The seismic event, all on its own, would be unlike anything the Earth has felt in modern human history. And the escalation is almost immediate. If you're living anywhere near these volcanoes, you've got maybe minutes to escape before the sky turns pitch black as millions of tons of ash are violently ejected upward. Within minutes of that happening, airplanes would literally disappear into thick, blinding ash clouds, forcing thousands of flights to be grounded instantly. By the time we hit the 1-hour mark, that ash is rising a staggering 30 kilometers into the sky. Global aviation just stops dead in its tracks, and the immediate panic completely takes over. Let's move into part two. The global domino effect. This is where the cascading system failure really begins. It's like a terrifying chain reaction. Step one, that ash that just shot 30 kilometers into the sky spreads out across the planet, completely blocking out the sun. Step two, without sunlight, global temperatures absolutely plummet. Step three, as that toxic ash finally settles, it violently poisons global clean water supplies. And finally, step four, the lack of sunlight combined with the freezing temperatures causes a total collapse of the world's food supply. It is quite literally a perfect storm of environmental collapse, all happening at once. And that plunges us into part three, entering the volcanic winter. So we have now entered a volcanic winter. Basically, this is a prolonged period of severe global cooling caused by all that atmospheric ash acting like a giant sunblock. With the sun obscured, average temperatures just keep dropping, and the consequences of this prolonged freeze are absolutely devastating. First off, countless animal species will severely struggle to survive the sudden drop in temperature. On top of that, global transportation nearly stops entirely, and because of this absolute halt in trade and movement, global economies simply collapse. Literally everything we rely on to function as a modern society freezes over. When you put it all together, it completely shifts our perspective on the threat. The short-term localized danger, the fiery explosions, the lava, the frantic evacuations, is terrifying for sure. But the true long-term threat to our entire species is the volcanic winter, global starvation, and total economic collapse. The immediate fire might take out some cities, but it's the slow, freezing starvation that actually threatens to take out humanity. Because as this deep freeze really sets in, the surface of the Earth becomes incredibly hostile to life. Suddenly, human survival hinges entirely on finding massive, large-scale emergency refuge. Millions upon millions of people would find themselves totally dependent on emergency shelters just to escape the harsh, sunless, freezing environment above ground. So, we have to ask in part four, will humanity survive? Well, despite this absolutely terrifying domino effect, scientists do point out a glimmer of hope. Surprisingly, no, not everyone would die. Honestly, it just proves that humanity is remarkably resilient even when faced with literal planetary collapse. But survival wouldn't just be random. It requires a very specific, incredibly difficult checklist. According to scientists, countries equipped with 3 specific things would survive much longer. First, they'd need extensive underground shelters to protect populations from the freezing surface. Second, massive, pre-established food reserves to outlast the total agricultural collapse. And third, Incredibly strong, durable infrastructure that can actually withstand both the initial seismic shocks and the brutal winter conditions that follow. Experts believe that if societies actually have these in place, humanity could endure the long winter and potentially even rebuild. Because the thing is, it wouldn't last forever. One day, the ash would finally settle. The skies would slowly begin to clear, and the sun would actually shine on the earth once more. But civilization as we know it today, our complex infrastructure, our borders, our daily routines, would be permanently altered. Humanity might technically survive, but the world we woke up to on the day of those eruptions, that world would be gone forever. To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. We've just walked through the rapid timeline, the global domino effect, and the extreme requirements for survival. So take a hard look at our fragile systems today, our complex food supply chains, our global transit networks, our infrastructure. If every volcano woke up tomorrow, do you think humanity is truly ready to survive it?